Hi there. I am Dr. Cool Auto Fix. In today's video, I will be teaching you 10 symptoms of a bad throttle position sensor and replacement cost. A bad throttle position sensor is the last thing that you will ever wish to have on your ride. The purpose of a throttle position sensor is to keep your car running like it's supposed to by controlling the throttle. With the passage of time, the sensor will start to get worn and may eventually have to be replaced. The important question is how to identify any bad throttle position sensor symptoms that you end up replacing the right sensor. Honestly speaking, it is not easy to detect throttle position sensor issues. However, there are specific throttle position sensor signs to look for to help ensure you find the culprit and another to get it figured out. You need a little information about this component called throttle position sensor and what it does. What does a throttle position sensor do? The primary purpose of throttle position sensor TPS is to give information to the car's computer about the throttle. It senses the air, heat, and light, and sends the information to the ECM, which adjusts the throttle and fuel supply accordingly. All vehicles have something called the throttle, which controls how much fuel is allowed to flow into the engine. The throttle position sensor is what monitors the throttle position from the shaft. Basically, this sensor is connected to a computer inside the vehicle which shares information sent by the driver. This information contains the actions of the driver such as accelerating, power steering and so forth. So anytime you step on the gas pedal to accelerate your vehicle, the computer sends this information to the sensor so that the throttle knows how much fuel to let flow into the engine. In the old days, there used to be a cable that was connected from the throttle to the accelerator. But now in the technological age, the car's computer controls when the throttle opens and closes by the feedback it gets about the acceleration of the vehicle. Top 10 symptoms of bad throttle position sensor. A faulty throttle position sensor sends incorrect information to the ECM, resulting in various issues in the engine, its performance and fuel economy. Below are common symptoms of a faulty TPS. In most of the cases, all of these symptoms will show together, making it easier to detect the faulty component. Jerking or bucking of the vehicle is the most common symptom of a bad TTS. These jerks can be experienced during hard acceleration or when under moderate load. What makes diagnosing it tricky is that the bugs and jerks may be completely random and not even occur for some stretches of time. The reason this happens is that the ECM doesn't get correct information from the TPS as to how much to throttle the car. 2. Rough idle or surging idle. Rough idle can be caused due to other issues in the car. But if it happens in conjunction with other throttle position sensor symptoms as I mentioned, the culprit is often the TPS. At idle, the ECM will not get the correct information and the throttle will vary randomly, causing idle surges. 3. Check engine light on. The check engine light will randomly turn on and off even if car is running smoothly without any jerks installing. This is often the first ever symptom of a bad TPS. Using a scan tool, you should be able to confirm whether a faulty TPS is the culprit or a different component. Diagnostic trouble codes P0121, P0122, P0123 and P0124 are what will commonly appear if you have a faulty TPS. 4. Engine stalling. Your car engine can stall for no reason and without any warning with bad TPS. This happens when the TPS gives incorrect information to the ECM. The engine can stall at high speed, at low speed, or even at idle. 5. Poor throttle response. A faulty throttle position sensor will not let your car accelerate correctly as originally designed. Even as this doesn't happen all the time, you may experience sluggish acceleration surge at both high and low speeds, hesitation or delay in acceleration, and other related symptoms. 6. Transmission issue, shifting issues. Bad TPS can lead to transmission problems, as the ECM depends on the correct data from TPS for smooth transition of your automatic transmission system. Incorrect signals from faulty TPS will lead to incorrect shift points, which can cause too early, delayed or erratic shifts. 7. Bad fuel economy. A bad TPS will stimulate the ECU with the wrong data or signals to be using more air and more fuel than usual. This will greatly impact fuel economy and keep you heading back to gas station. To be certain of this, as it may occur. 8. Car starting issue. Having problems in starting a car with an internal combustion engine, it often requires more fuel and air than idling or even cruising speed. To that end, one possible symptom of a bad throttle position sensor is you might experience difficulty in starting your car, because the engine isn't getting the right amount of fuel. If it's really bad, then your car won't start at all. 9. Car start, run rough then dies when you start your car. Throttle position sensor is the component which the ECM uses to stabilize the engine idling RPMs between 600 to 800 depending on the make and model. Depends on the throttle position sensor, which in most newer model cars with built-in throttle position sensor will exhibit this above-mentioned symptom while keeping you combing the whole place to find out where the TPS is located. 10. Car stalls, and die when AC is turned on. This is most applicable to car make with electronic control module that receive input data from dozens of input sensor under the hood to keep your car running efficiently as it should. When you turn on the AC system, there is a swift load added to the engine. The ECM uses the throttle position sensor or throttle body if built in to alter the operating parameters of the injector and ignition advance timing to counter the new request made by you. When the TPS failed, your car will often surge or shut off when AC is turned on. Can you fix a bad throttle position sensor? As soon as you see a mix of these throttle position sensor symptoms, you should test the TPS, and if it isn't functioning properly, it needs to be replaced. Unfortunately, the TPS cannot be repaired as it is a tiny sensor, but the good news is that a new sensor usually isn't too expensive, so you can get back on the road soon enough. Throttle position sensor replacement cost. If you need to have throttle position sensor replaced, the cost will depend on the type of car you have. But the average cost of this replacement job isn't that expensive. The parts will cost you between $75 and $130 on average. The labor costs will be anywhere between $60 and $90 depending on the hourly rate of the mechanics. So, in total, you can expect to pay between $135 and $220 for a throttle position sensor replacement. Since replacing the TPS is fairly easy in most cases depending on its location, you may be able to save yourself some time by doing it yourself. A quick search on YouTube is often all it takes. Going to a dealership is going to cost you more, so for most jobs such as this one, we recommend you find a trustworthy independent mechanic, whether by recommendations from family and friends or by reading online reviews. And, of course, there may be taxes and fees added on to these costs which are determined by your location. But it's still not too expensive when you consider everything else that could go wrong with your car. Can you drive with a bad TPS? Now you may be wondering when you'll need to have your throttle position replaced. The simple answer is when your computer can no longer detect any signal from the throttle position sensor. They will likely force your computer to stall the engine and only allow to run at low RPMs, which means the car will only move at slow speeds. This is a safety feature programmed into your ECM so that your engine doesn't get too damaged. A throttle position sensor will generally fail simply from the wear and tear of driving the vehicle for many years. There is nothing you can really do to prevent this sensor from failing because it will just happen on its own. The only thing you should do is have it replaced as soon as you notice symptoms occurring in your vehicle. I hope you found this content helpful to the very need that prompt you into watching this video. If not, drop me a comment at my blog. Link in my bio. See you on my next video.